is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it!
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm your host, Mark Gunn. The views expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of anyone or any entity associated with this broadcast. This episode, The Americans America Forgot. An update on the relief efforts in Puerto Rico. Quick question. What's the significance of the date Wednesday, September 20th, 2017? Don't remember, do you? Well, that's the day that Hurricane Maria devastated the island of Puerto Rico.
Maria's direct hit, devastating Puerto Rico. The first Category 4 storm to strike Puerto Rico in 85 years. Roofs peeled from buildings, debris flying. Structures collapsing. Up to 30 inches of rain in some areas, engulfing whole neighborhoods. The emergency management director saying the entire island is destroyed. Many of these homes not built to withstand any hurricane, let alone a Category 4. 100% of Puerto Rico now without power. Terrified residents singing about strength during trying times to ease the fear.
Maria hit right on the heels of two other disastrous storms that hit parts of Texas and Louisiana. To the credit of a lot of Americans, folks pitched in to help those in Texas almost immediately. Puerto Rico, the response simply wasn't nearly as quick.
Yasmin Torres is trying to survive after losing everything, including the roof over her head.
She's sleeping outside her hard house into a soft-sided tent. That's all she's got.
The first government relief finally rolled into the southeastern part of the island, 9 days after the storm. Manolo Morales was grateful to receive squash to eat. He's been eating canned sardines, capturing rainwater in barrels and pots just to have something to drink.
Residents here hope there are more relief supplies on the way and that the government does not forget about them.
While lots of Americans did what they could through manpower and donations, Donald Trump managed once again to make a complete pendejo of himself with his visit.
The president's chief critic on the island, San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz, she had accused the administration of, quote, killing us with inefficiency. He fired back over the weekend, branding the mayor a poor leader and a politically motivated ingrate. And he said people on the ravaged island want everything done for them.
Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico.
Inside a church, the president threw paper towels and other supplies into a crowd.
Neighborhoods that are in the capital, San Juan, which has received most of the aid, first responders, etc., and yet they hadn't received a single drop of aid. They had SOS signs on the highways, and this is 13 days after the storm, of course. We understand they got some food finally yesterday. Things are very desperate there. The sewage system flooded. They say people are sick. It is quite a dire situation. People here were already upset. Trump's image here wasn't great already because of the slow response, obviously, but also because of his tweets where he kept saying that Puerto Ricans were not doing enough to help themselves, when really on the ground, the community effort was huge. Now, when he said the Katrina comment, people here were telling us that's not fair. Of course, there hasn't been as much loss of life as Katrina saw, but for us, we lost everything. We lost our livelihoods. This is a tragedy, and it is devastating. They didn't really appreciate that, nor the fact that Trump said that the budget was already being stretched out because of aid to Puerto Rico. Everybody is really keeping close attention to the funding, how much money would be allocated, because it will have an impact right here on the street.
One of the more disturbing aspects of this tragedy.
My grandmother and my grandfather who are in Puerto Rico, we haven't heard from them.
Looking for my grandfather. I have not been able to speak to him.
Some worry that donation fatigue is setting in after Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. Americans may be tired of giving.
People can become a little bit despondent about the capacity to make a difference. And we want to remind them that actually their contributions do matter.
There's no donation fatigue. People on the mainland are saying, how can I get supplies there? The governor has said, listen, we've got thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds of food. We've got millions of liters of water. We just need more people and more trucks to deliver.
As with anything in our news cycle, Americans, on average, have a very short attention span. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this episode in the first place. How much have you heard about the relief effort since the initial days? How much has the administration mentioned it since that farce of a visit a few months ago? There's a very disturbing disconnect between the mainland and Puerto Rico. Now, did you know that just about half of the country didn't know that Puerto Ricans are United States citizens? That, yes, the island is indeed a part of the United States.
Residents of Puerto Rico have been granted American citizenship by birth since 1917. But a recent poll shows only 43% of Americans know Puerto Ricans are actually U.S. citizens. Another 41% believe Puerto Ricans are only citizens of Puerto Rico. That's not true because Puerto Rico isn't an independent country. 15% of those surveyed say they weren't sure.
Because of this ignorance, they are the Americans that America forgot. Now, the most recent bit of good news came on the 11th of this month when students and staff at Academia Bautista de Puerto Nuevo celebrated the return of electricity to their school after 112 days. Progress continues to be made, but it's painfully, agonizingly slow. Now, you've seen all of the news coverage before it fell off, right? Well, coming up, I'm going to introduce you to a young lady who has a very special connection to Puerto Rico, and we'll get a first-hand look at what's really happening right after this. If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. If you're listening to this program right now, this is where you would hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor to Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your commercial is professionally produced and gets a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program, unlike anything else in the marketplace. Episodes are also available for download on iTunes, and depending on how you tailor your message, the potential for new and repeat customers is that much greater. Best of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you'd like more information on how to sponsor this broadcast, call Mark Gun Media Inc. at 502-205-2085 or 502-407-0283. That's 502-205-2085 or 502-407-0283. Welcome back to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm Mark Gunn, and we're talking about the Americans America Forgot, an update on the recovery efforts in Puerto Rico. Our special guest spent several weeks on the island as a volunteer for the relief effort. She's also a native and just happens to be my neighbor, Noemi Robinson, Santiago. Noemi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good. Well, first of all, welcome back home.
Thank you.
All right, so I know for you this relief effort started months ago. How did you get involved?
As soon the Maria touched Puerto Rico, in my heart was to help my island. Mm-hmm. My father's over there. And as soon it happened on Wednesday, on Monday we start getting a truck together and sending supplies to the island. But it was kind of hard because as soon we let the truck leave and take the airplane and hit Puerto Rico, we don't know. We can track it no more because they was holding the supplies.
Now, you were able to generate a lot of those donations because I remember seeing a gang of stuff in your garage.
Yes.
How did that start here in Louisville?
I have a couple of friends. I have a community. It's a group called Boricuas in Louisville. Mm-hmm. That's Puerto Ricans in Louisville, and that's how we start moving. And I have a couple of friends that get together, and then I follow them and help them, and I just get my friends to help too at the same time.
Now, I know you went through quite a bit of red tape to actually get to travel back to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
What was that process like?
As soon Maria hit Puerto Rico, I applied for the Rico Cross to go as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. They had to check my background. It take a little time for them to get me there. But it was taking so long that I was calling them. I said, when is this going to be? When I need to take the trainings? And then the training start. It took like a month and a half of training and all the paperwork that I need to do for work, because then I had to take a little absence to go to the island. But everything worked perfect. I know God have a purpose for me to go when I win. Mm-hmm. He didn't want me to go the 2 weeks after.
Right.
He waited to me to go there on November 13th, and I went for 21 days.
We saw a lot of the devastation in the days after Maria hit. What was it like when you got off the plane and you finally were, you were able to get situated to where you were supposed to be? What was your first reaction to seeing all of that?
Before I left the Red Cross, because I'm from Puerto Rico, they prepare me mentally. They say, it's your island, it's your people, and you're going to see this going to be devastated. And I was prepared, but you never prepare for see that much damage.
Right.
And it was sad. It was sad to see all the tarp when you go in the airplane. Everything got tarp and everything is blown away. It wasn't looking at Puerto Rico. Everything was brown. No, it was no green. The green was starting to come out. And they told me before, now you see green, because before you came in, like a month ago, it was no green. It was gone completely, like a desert.
Just as a point of reference, I spent a few years as a child in Puerto Rico, so I know the green of which you speak. There's a lot of lush landscape all over the island, even within some of the more populated city areas and suburb areas. That green with the palm trees and the grass and everything. So yeah, in my mind's eye, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I know the process of all the volunteers getting settled, and I know we talked about this before. Getting acquainted with new people, trying to get your bearings, being away from home. What was that process like? Say like the first or second night that you were there.
When I get there, I went to a hostel. I'd never been in a hostel before. I should see that in TV. I didn't even know it was hostels in Puerto Rico. I was prepared to go to a shelter. I was prepared to go and sleep with people, different people in the same room, but I was not prepared to be sleeping with 10, 12 people, co-ed. But it was hard the first night I got there. It's hot. It's really, really humid.
Right.
It's now, the generator only worked from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. And when the generator worked, the fan wasn't that much. And I see too many bugs. I see too many mosquitoes. And I called my husband and I said, no, I don't think I want to be here. But then I had to catch myself. It's people in here, they don't have nowhere to sleep.
Right.
It's people in here that don't have electricity since September 20. They don't have no water. They're being through not having nothing to eat. And then I'm going to complain because I'm going to sleep with 10 people and I don't have a fan. But I say, I catch myself and then I need to appreciate what I have. And I came here to help. I didn't came here to complain. And from then, I started making friends. I even met somebody from Paducah, Kentucky. Then you start making this family. It's amazing. I got a big family. I got people from Hong Kong, from Connecticut, from Hawaii, California, and they are there for help just like me. And I'm there helping my people. My heart is in there. They don't have anybody in the island. They're going and acting the same way I'm acting, helping my people.
All right, once again, we are visiting with Noemi Robinson Santiago, who is one of the volunteers with the Red Cross with the ongoing relief in Puerto Rico. Now, you talked about electricity. One of the big things that everybody was covering was the fact that for months, there's been no electricity. You mentioned generators as well. During the day, okay, there's, you've got daylight, you're able to function, you're able to do whatever you can do to help people out. And you said that the generators were running from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. So you had that noise to contend with at night. And you talked about getting this family of other volunteers. One of the stories that I heard, and this speaks to the spirit of Puerto Ricans, of Boricuas, is that there would be, in the midst of all of this tragedy, you would hear singing. When
I went over there, I went to help, and I went over there to energize them. I went over there to support them. And then all of a sudden, I see myself getting energized by them. There was no electricity, but the music kept going. They do the parranda because, in Puerto Rico, I got there November 13th, and as soon the Thanksgiving's over, the Christmas start.
Right.
You see lights with generators. There wasn't a lab, but they plugged something. Christmas is here. I went to my friend's house on Thanksgiving. That was one of the hardest days because I didn't have my family with me. I went and visited different of my friends that day, like that. I keep myself busy. And they have all this food. They have they have a gas stove. and the families together. They have instruments. They don't need no electricity to be happy.
Right.
And they told me my family is sitting in the table together because the kids don't have all these games.
Right.
No, it's no phones. The kids are playing outside. You don't see that no more.
Right.
And it was so amazing to see the kids with the ball outside. It's no electricity, it's hot, but they're having fun. It was a struggle, but they look for the good of that.
So they were looking for the right side.
Yes.
And yeah, with kids playing outside and a lot of familial togetherness. So yeah, those are two of the good things that came out of it. Now I know there were some difficulties in getting supplies to people that need it. I know on the larger scale, you had lots of supplies that were ready to roll, but the last thing that I heard, and this was maybe a couple of weeks ago, that there weren't enough truck drivers to deliver those supplies. Tell me about trying to reach people in some of the further reaches of the island, the ones that weren't in the suburbs, the ones that were out further in the island. I know there was some difficulty there, correct?
Yes, it was. At the beginning, it was really hard. It wasn't no way for let the people know that they need driver because there's no electricity, there's no signal for the cell phone. You can call anybody. You can put it on the news. We need people. It was kind of hard, but some people that was able to drive and have the right license to drive this type of truck, they don't have the way to get there because it was no gasoline. It was it was everything. It was hard. But now when I went there November 13, everything was getting back to normal. The lines in the gas station wasn't bad, and drivers start coming out. And something that I have to say, I never worked for the Red Cross before, never donated for the Red Cross before, but I'm so glad I was part of the Red Cross. You got all these drivers, they're getting paid to work, and they have to feed the family. But they work with the Red Cross, and then us as a volunteer follow the trucks to these mountains, to these places that not everybody can go because still the streets are really dangerous. And these drivers still go to places that say there's no way that truck can go through that.
And they get there anyway.
And they get there. Yeah.
Wow. So in talking with some of the people throughout the course of your work, what kind of stories would you hear, or what kind of things would they tell you about what they were going through?
As soon as the Red Cross get there and they see our best, they get so excited. They start screaming. They say, Red Cross is here, because we trying to announce to the community that we're coming, but it's really hard when there's no electricity.
Right.
But and then when we get there, we start call your neighbor, go and get your mom, get everybody, and then like that we can give the supplies. And me being Puerto Rican, I'm home. I'm screaming just like them. Come on, let's get the neighbor. What's the neighbor's name? Blanca, come on, Blanca, come on, Maria. Because, and then they feel like she's just like me, and then we treat them good because they don't want to get handed out, but they have to because they don't have nothing else. But you have to treat them with respect. You have to have an open ear. You have to have open arms. Hug them. They need a hug. Some of these people don't have no job. Some of these people don't have no home. I had one of the volunteers helping me. She told me, I lost my house. But, she's here helping me with a smile and giving stuff to others. And I said, well, she might have just lost a little part of the house.
Right.
And then that's me thinking, like, it's no way this lady can be here and lost the house. I guess I said, and then I worked with her again. She's a local volunteer. I worked with her again, and she said, well, we're close to my house. Do you want to see? She allowed me to take a video. The house was completely gone.
Oh, wow.
And then she still go every day because she don't have no job. Or I think her job was giving her maybe a couple hours a day or a week. But when she didn't have to go and work the hours, she was volunteer and helping others. And that was amazing. That stuff, because I'm here thinking that she's no way that she lost her house and here helping. Like, my mind was so little at that point. And then when she took me to the house and allowed me to videotape her house, I want to cry. It was completely gone. The house was almost going to the hill. But it's a lot of good spirit in Puerto Rico. We are strong people.
Speaking of jobs, I know there was quite a few companies that their employees lost everything. and even those businesses were lost. But yet they're still paying their employees even though they don't have a job to go to. Of course, there was the school that I talked about earlier that finally got power back. And you're still in touch with your family even though you're back home now, right?
Yes. I'm able to talk to my father and my daughter's grandmother and aunt, and that's how I keep in touch and know what's going on. Because sometimes in the news don't tell you everything, and sometimes we are forgotten. They don't talk about no more. You know, and you don't see nothing else about Puerto Rico. We still need a lot of help. We still got 1.5 million of people without electricity. That means it's no refrigerator. If you need insulin, where do you put your insulin?
Right.
You know, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of help that my island need. But God don't do wrong, and He know what He's doing, and I know that He's helping my island, and everything is going to be okay.
And out of that 1.5 million people you talk about, you have to realize that Puerto Rico is a population of roughly 3 to 3.5 million people.
Yes.
Even though that may seem to be a lot of people, the island is spread out enough to where it doesn't seem to be very crowded. Even though I'm seeing pictures, and I even saw some of the videos that you posted while you were there, still trying to wrap my head around all of the destruction that was there, because in my mind's eye, I'm seeing the Puerto Rico that I remember. And I'm sure at different points you were seeing the Puerto Rico that you remember. You talked about help still being needed. I do know that drivers are still needed in some aspects. You've got supplies that still need to get up and running. Do you know if the Red Cross is still looking for any sort of volunteers or any other organizations that you may know of that people can contact to try to help out still?
Yeah, Red Cross still helping Puerto Rico. You can donate. You still can go if you want. If you need to go and volunteer. You have to be 21 days. A regular deployment is 2 weeks, but because it's in the island, it has to be 21 days, and it's kind of hard to do. But even if you donate, you're making a difference, you know, because Red Cross is paying for this gas, for the truck to have gas to go to the mountains, to go to the cities where people can be reached. They're paying for rental cars for us to follow the drivers and then go and help and do the distribution. But it's a lot of stuff that can be done. I have people that got there 2 days after Maria hit Puerto Rico. They're still there.
Oh, wow.
Still there. People from Hawaii.
So what would you say to anybody in government? I would even say the White House, that administration, anybody that seems to have forgotten or just sloughed this off as, oh, those people will be all right. We don't need to help them anymore. Again, I did call this episode The Americans America Forgot. Is there any one thing in particular that you would like to let people know about what's going on there and what you got out of the overall experience?
I just wish the people with the power to do something, they do. We have places where the people in Puerto Rico have to make their own way to pass something from the it's not a bridge, but they have to do
that's right. You were telling me the story of a pulley, a makeshift pulley that was made.
Yes, but I know there's people capable to do something better. If we did it, with rope and a little milk carton. Right,
a little milk crate.
Yeah.
So you were able to shuttle supplies back and forth over this makeshift pulley that you guys
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's help that can be sent to do something better than that.
So I would strongly encourage everyone that hears this, go on to the Red Cross website. I'm sure there's information about the relief effort. Check out social media, because you'll never know what you'll find. Just do a search for Puerto Rico or Boricuas, and you'll find information that way. Anything and everything you can do, even if it's just something as simple as prayers, if that's where you live, that all helps. And again, we wanted to do this episode because this is something that's that slipped through the cracks. And for all of this country's talk about supporting Americans and being good Americans, the fact that you've got an island full of Americans that have been forgotten about is shameful. So that's why we wanted to bring this episode to you. Noemi, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
All right, and if you want more information about it, hit the redcross.org. You'll find out what you need to do in order to help. You've been listening to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of any entity or anyone associated with this broadcast. If you'd like to leave a comment or want more information about how you can advertise on this program, email us at gunshotsstraightfromthehip@gmail.com or call 502-407-0283. All comments are welcomed. You can also download this and past episodes on iTunes and other social media outlets. Just search for us by name. Gunshots Straight from the Hip. Thank you for listening.
Bar Gun Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.